Welcome to the Degrees of Maternity podcast, your real dose of truth for the content creator. Episode number 19 comes from the Blogging Truths Be Told series entitled Strategize by Repurposing Your Content. Strategy in blogging is so crucial to your longevity as a blogger. There's absolutely no way that any successful blog has been able to function for any length of time without its creator formulating a method to function in the ever-changing blogging madness we can find ourselves in. I've said it before, and I'll repeat it again. Blogging is more than the writing. There are so many interior and exterior aspects to a successful blog. From the technical details of running a website, to the customer service provided to your readership, to the marketing that gets your blog in front of content consumers. Oh, and there are other blogging related activities that come to mind, but I'll stop here with the overwhelm. I just wanted to give you some perspective on how important it is to have a blogging plan as early on in your content creation journey as possible. Now, I'll admit that you're probably not going to come out of the gate with a stellar plan when you first start your blog. You're going to be busy with figuring out your message, your target audience, and what will and won't attract your target audience. You'll naturally begin to make inventory of your personal and professional characteristics as a content creator and note where there are any gaps between where you are and where you want to be. Then you'll spend time formulating a plan on what you need to do to close that gap. Here's where you start cooking up the plan, your strategy. And believe me when I say your strategy is going to change over time and will look somewhat, maybe even substantially different at the beginning of your blogging journey than it will as you progress throughout the various stages of your blogging career. It has to. Why? Well, because things move fast in the blogosphere, and even the seasoned blogger can struggle to keep up sometimes. But none of this negates the fact that you need to be the man or the ma'am with the blogging plan, even from the onset of your blog. Strategic mindsetting is the only way to survive in this online world. And here's what I mean. As a newbie or seasoned blogger, it doesn't even matter. Learn to repurpose your content, a strategic mindsetting tactic all the way. And you might have to trick your mind into looking at repurposing in a different light than you viewed it at first glance. Case in point, I'm currently focusing on expanding Degrees of Maternity through repurposing my content on different platforms. And here's the mindset that I've developed around the whole business of getting your content out into the online world. Here it goes. The more places you put your stuff out there, the more likely it will be seen. You have to keep in mind that there are multiple online audiences at any given time, and those audiences aren't hanging out at only one information dissemination location. They are everywhere and looking for content in all the right places for them. So you have to go where the people are. And you could run yourself ragged trying to be everything for everyone on every online platform where your target audience may be. But you're not going to do that. You're going to be strategic. You're going to find a few platforms, less than a handful, or maybe just even a couple, or maybe three, starting out, where your people are. And you're going to give them what they want and need, your content. You can always expand into more platforms once you have a good handle on the ones currently in your portfolio. And not only are you going to give your people what they want and need on these platforms, but you're not going to content deplete yourself by recreating the wheel on each of these platforms. You're going to repurpose your existing content where you can. You're going to take your content and place it on the different platforms where the consumers of your content tend to hang out. Now, you may have to tweak this existing content to cater to the specific platform at hand, but the amount of rework should be little to none. If it becomes more than that, then you're actually creating new content and not repurposing. Let me give you a living example of what I mean. While participating in a past 30-day challenge that I created, known as the Creative Movement Goal Setting Challenge, I learned that I could expand my Degrees of Maternity reach by simply placing my existing information and product offerings on additional platforms that align with my outreach goals and target audience. Here's what I did during the challenge and right after the challenge ended, while I still had some challenge momentum left in me. Number one, I created a new store. Since I create handmade reading and writing tools for children and adults, as well as educational incentives for children, I decided to find a place where I could bring my resources to these groups of individuals. I had an Etsy shop that I started back in 2020, yeah, for this very reason. I knew Etsy as a reputable online marketplace for handmade creators and individuals looking for handmade goods, so I took the necessary steps to become a part of that community. However, during the 30-day challenge, I further honed in on where my ideal customer would actually be residing, even more so than on Etsy. And I thought of the Teachers Pay Teachers online marketplace. Let me backtrack. Someone recommended that I look into Teachers Pay Teachers because she was aware of what I do in my business and thought I'd be a great fit for it. Unfortunately, I didn't do anything on the initial mention of that platform to me. Of course, I waited until much later, but I did decide to finally take her up on that advice during the challenge. Better late than never, I suppose. And actually, there's no time like the present. I mean, I'm just thrilled that I finally jumped on the opportunity. And do you think I recreated the wheel here? Nope, not at all. I simply took the majority of the products that I had on my Etsy shop and also placed them over on my Teachers Pay Teachers store. The products that I tended to leave out were the ones that I didn't think customers would be searching for on the Teachers Pay Teachers platform. And while I was creating my new store and adding products to it, I also decided to take my product bundles, both on Etsy and Teachers Pay Teachers, and break them down into individual items, therefore creating more Degrees of Maternity product offerings. Smart, huh? It's the whole repurposing effect, I assure you. I didn't create any new products. I just placed current ones on a new platform, did a little bit of bundle disbanding, and there you go. Number two, I started a podcast. Yes, I started a podcast. And here's another platform that someone suggested I look into. But of course, I never bit on that piece of advice at the time. I waited until much later. But it was bound to naturally happen. Reason being, I've become increasingly interested in audio work. Well, yeah, it's gone back into history as far as being interested in doing audio, and I'm just now really getting serious about it, I would say. But it's been a long time coming. I'll just say it like that. And in a previous blog post of mine entitled A Podcast for the Content Creator, I talk about my experiences with creating audio clips for my Degrees of Maternity blog and for my email subscribers, doing audio recording of the books of the Bible for my family's personal use, and reading out loud with my son for his bedtime routine. So, podcasting seemed like something I could sink my voice into because I was already doing voice work. And when I started noticing WordPress's announcements about Anchor by Spotify and how easy it would be to turn my blog posts into podcasts, that was all she wrote. I was in. Truthfully, let's see, I started my podcast back on June 30th of 2021. So I still consider myself pretty green with this whole process, but I'm seriously all in. It just makes sense for me to do the podcasting thing. I already have the content in my previously created blog posts just waiting to be put on audio. Repurposing only, no recreating allowed. And I'm constantly seeking opportunities to build up my voice for audio work now and into the future. Furthermore, my overall goal with Degrees of Maternity is to reach people where they're at with the information, products, and services that they need. I would venture to say that taking on a podcast seems like a win win situation to me. And number three, I return to YouTube. Okay. Never say never, which I did say that, regarding YouTube and all. I took a lengthy hiatus from YouTube because it didn't seem to be in my realm of genius, and it's still not, but I'm back. Not so I can make myself busier, but because I have another opportunity to repurpose my content and resuscitate my YouTube channel. From previous blog posts, I made it perfectly clear that I'm not a camera person and I don't like to put my face in front of it. So YouTube would kind of be an ongoing struggle for me in that respect. But I tried making videos that replaced my face with images, which was the only way that I could see YouTube working for me. Basically, you were getting my voice in the background with a lot of visual content, none of me to view. Okay, so I did that for a while, but it didn't seem to be going anywhere, and I just didn't have the time as a solopreneur to devote to a platform that wasn't taking off for me and that I wasn't totally comfortable in being vulnerable in. So I nixed my involvement for a whole year. But here I am again, trying my hand at YouTube once more. But I will just preface that statement by saying it's an on again, off again relationship. I, as a matter of fact, at this very moment, I've slowed down and I've taken another one of my little breaks. Um, but I imagine I'll be back to it again. But again, this is just not my area or realm of genius, and so I'm just kind of evaluating how I need to go about it, or, maybe if I should just continue a break to determine if this is the platform for me. But for now, I'm saying, okay, I'm back. And this time around, I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I'm just going to ride on it, meaning I'm putting my podcast on YouTube. Woohoo! More audience reach. The way I see it, the folks that may not go to podcasts to get their information may be hanging out on YouTube. So I'd like to see if I can catch up with them there. And minimal work is involved in this endeavor. Nothing like the work that was involved with my channel before, when I spent hours upon hours working on the audio, images, and video editing components of my videos. No, I already have my podcast episode recorded. I just need to create a thumbnail for it and do 5 minutes worth of video editing in Final Cut Pro, and then I have a video ready for publishing on YouTube. I love it. I'm utilizing a strategy fondly known as repurposing in a big way, and I'm not ashamed of it. You shouldn't be either. I used to look at repurposing as cheating in a way, but I've learned to shift that mindset right out the door. It's not cheating when you're taking the content that you create, your own intellectual property, and you're simply putting it out in various places throughout the online world where people can get to it. The way I look at it, you're doing your target audience member a disservice by not getting your stuff out there. And I mean, in all the places that you can get it out there. if you know that that information can help him or her. So I say spread the love and repurpose your content strategically where it makes the most sense. Streamline your process for repurposing and create a schedule for doing so you'll stay consistent. Well, enough of that. Now, get going on your blogging strategy. And don't forget to include repurposing as part of it. I think I'll go ahead and end here. I want to thank you so very much for tuning in to this episode. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then.